These days, I work principally as a consultant rather than as a hands-on software developer. So I get to see lots of different projects and lots of different teams. And I think that there are three common areas of focus that need improving in most of the teams that I see. There are the obvious ones that we talk about often here, fast feedback through continuous integration and continuous delivery. And that depends on more technical fixes like infrastructure as code and configuration management and version control. But there's also a third, and that's the topic that I want to discuss today. So why do so many projects fail to deliver real value? Well, often it's because the requirements process is completely broken. Traditional requirements often don't focus on what the users need, but rather on the work that we need to do. So rather than be requirements, they're a schedule of work. That doesn't work very well. It's not a very effective way of organizing our work. So how can we avoid this pitfall, and how can we deliver better software faster? That's our topic for today. Hi, I'm Dave Farley of Continuous Delivery, and welcome to my channel. If you haven't been here before, please do hit subscribe, and if you enjoy the content today, hit like as well. The problem with the broken requirements processes that I see all of the time in companies of all sizes is that usually the plan is mixed together with the requirements. We organize our work based on what the things are that we need to do rather than what the things are that we need to achieve. And through doing that, we lose focus on the things that we need to achieve. So we build software that doesn't satisfy users' needs. We spend time and effort building stuff that is not really important to the end goal that we're trying to achieve. And so we spend time and money and effort doing things that aren't really of value to our users. So often these sorts of plans are overly detailed, leaving very little room for collaboration or change. And so the whole process is now inflexible and hard to steer. Requirements like these fail to deliver value because they're disconnected from the user needs completely. And we risk building features no one wants as a result. My preferred approach, in contrast to this, is to specify what it is that we're trying to achieve. And we do that through a process that gets us there in a series of steps. So we're going to start off with some kind of vague wish that our users would like to achieve, some need that they would like being fulfilled. We're going to slightly strengthen those in terms of specifying them as user stories. We're going to describe those needs in non-technical terms, and then we're going to translate those user stories into examples that demonstrate that the need that the user story captures is fulfilled. Those are our executable specifications, and we work then to fulfill those executable specifications in the forms of acceptance tests. This approach is much more likely to end up with us building stuff that users really want, or at least knowing what it is that we've built, what it achieves. And they give us, in addition to driving the development process, a validation mechanism for verifying that we keep our software delivering what it is that our users want and need. Stories then are the starting point for this process. And the classic way of describing a user story is that it's a placeholder for a conversation. It's not exhaustive documentation. So if you write user stories and the development team build the software without talking to the people that wrote the user stories, then that's wrong. If the story is so detailed that the development team know what to do without that conversation, the stories are too detailed. They're not capturing the right level of information. The objective of good user stories like this is to work at a higher level of abstraction, identifying those user needs, and then leaving the implementation detail to the development teams. But that doesn't mean that all of the questions have been answered. As the development teams start answering things, they're going to uncover and explore new wrinkles in what it is that we want to achieve. And that's when we have these conversations. A great user story isn't just a task. It's not even a task. It's a promise of a conversation. Let's look at what makes a good one. The key points here are that we need to focus on these user needs, user value, not on the implementation. So instead of saying something like add a database column for favorites, say as a shopper I want to save my favorite items so I can easily find them later. This way we're not talking at the level of technical detail at all. Those are decisions for the development team and as part of the development process. That's their job. Let me pause there and say thank you to our sponsors. We're extremely fortunate to be sponsored by Equal Experts, Transfic, Tuple and Honeycomb. Equal Experts is a multinational consultancy built on applying the ideas and techniques that we talk about every week on this channel to build great software for their clients. All of these companies though offer products and services that are extremely well aligned with the topics that we discuss here every week. So if you're looking for excellence in continuous delivery and software engineering in general, please do click on the links in the description below. So our objective with starting out with user stories is to use clear, non-technical language. Stories should be understandable by everyone on the team. We should aim to avoid technical jargon, at least implementation level technical jargon, completely. The technical jargon that's admissible is the technical jargon in the problem domain. So if we're building software for engineers or scientists, their technical jargon is fine, of course. We're going to avoid attempting to specify how we're going to build something. We're going to focus instead on what it is that whatever we build is meant to achieve. Those are what stories are for. That's the whole idea of user stories, really. In order to do this well and to use these as great tools in the development process, we want to keep these user stories small. Think of user stories as slices of value. For example, instead of building an entire search feature as one big story, break it up into many smaller ones like search by name, search by category, search by diagram, whatever else it is. This is vital, allowing us to make more incremental progress, and that has all sorts of knock-on benefits, including allow us to better manage the scope of the things that we're building. If we come up with a new option for search, let's say, then we could go and talk to our product owners and say, we've just come up with this new idea for search. Would you like us to do this now, or would you like us to do it later? Do you want to add it to the story list or not? And that allows the plans to be much more flexible, as well as allowing us to focus more clearly on smaller, more tractable, more understandable, more testable individual pieces of work. Each story then should deliver something meaningful to the user or the business, but that doesn't necessarily have to be valuable to the user. Value is not the same thing as valuable. A pile of gold is valuable, but a penny has value. So we can provide a small, tiny increment in the behavior of our system for our users, and that's a valid user experience change and a valid user story. Even experienced teams get this sort of thing wrong though. Let's talk about some of the common pitfalls and how to avoid them. The key mistake that we trip over all of the time is that most stories that I see in the wild are far too big. We assume that what we are trying to achieve with user stories is everything that a user needs surrounding this topic. And that's a mistake for the reasons that we've just talked about. Epic stories are extremely tempting, but really they're an expression of the laziness of the people that are trying to express the need. We need more detailed, more precise definitions of each need. That gives us a better, narrower scope to evaluate our fulfillment of those needs through acceptance testing. So each of our tests now can focus in on one very narrow specific part of the behavior. It frees up our ability to more incrementally build higher quality systems. The next really common failure for user stories is using user stories to define technical changes. The idea is that the development team is responsible for developing and deciding on how to develop the changes that are needed to meet user need. That is the development process really. The typing bit is just the capturing of it. but it's the decisions around how we're going to fulfill those needs that is the real heart of software development. So technical stories are really trying to do that by remote control. They're trying to tell the technical teams how to do their job. And I think those are a big mistake. We should try to avoid technical stories. You can check out my feelings about technical stories in a bit more detail in this video. The next barrier is to confusing the user interface with a user need or a user story. They're not the same thing. The user interface is part of the solution. And how we decide to organize the user interface is part of the design of our system. It's part of the implementation. It's not part of the user need. One of the ways that I hear this talked about very often in development teams is that we confuse the user interface as a user story, and then we have back-end developers saying, oh, we don't have any users, so we can't use user stories. That's completely wrong. You still have users, even if they are not using a user interface. For some kinds of software, your users might be other programmers or other parts of the system, but they're still users of your software. It's my belief that the real value of the user story focus is the outcome focus. It's looking at what it is that we want our software to achieve rather than how we're going to achieve it. And it's that change in perspective that is really the value of user stories. So we want to be focusing on a user's goal, not on technical tasks. So for example, we don't want user stories like support OAuth login. That's not a user story, it's an implementation choice and detail. Instead, we want to say something like the user can authenticate themselves so that they can use privileged features of the system or something like that. These technical stories are problematic for a variety of reasons, but fundamentally because they miss the user perspective entirely. How do you prioritize login via OAuth against pay by credit card? You can't. Nobody can do that. A technical person can't do that because they're not thinking about those on an equal footing, and a non-technical person can't do that either for the same reasons, although maybe different versions of not being able to see them from the same perspective. Over-specifying implementation details is a problem and should be avoided. We want to avoid the coupling between the requirements and the implementation. We'd like to be able to imagine that when we specify something, we could have multiple implementation choices to fulfill that need. That strategy allows us the flexibility to change the implementation when we find the need to do so. If we come up with a better idea for a solution that improves its resilience or its scalability or its maintainability, then we can make those changes without changing any of the requirements or the specifications, or even, if we get them right, the acceptance tests that verify that our implementation meets its user needs, meets its user specifications. This separation of concerns is an important and liberating break between having very tightly coupled implementation detail focused requirements or user stories and much more user focused, outcome focused stories. That's what we're really looking for. Big stories can derail your project entirely. Here's how to break them down into manageable, valuable pieces. There are lots of techniques for splitting large stories, and I recommend this book, 50 Quick Ideas to Improve Your User Stories by Gojko Adzik. So we could choose to divide our stories by workflow steps, like add to cart versus checkout. Split by data variations, such as handling registered users versus handling guest users. Split by scenarios like the happy path versus the edge cases or failure scenarios. Good user stories maintain value in specifying what we want, but in smaller increments. An ideal size for a story is something that we can implement in a day or two. If it takes us a week or two, that's really as large as we ever want to get. So we've got to find a way of decomposing even complex things into smaller steps, smaller pieces. And that's another strong value that story organized projects gain through this way of working. Each smaller story should still deliver something useful. Don't split for the sake of splitting, but it should be smaller and concrete and an externally visible increment in the behavior of the system. So for example, instead of a single big story like, as a user I want to search for products, we could break it into a whole bunch of smaller stories like, as a user I'd like to find products by name, find products by category, find products through some filters, and so on, so that we can now decompose the work into these smaller, safer steps. If splitting the story further loses its context or value, then it's already small enough. So don't decompose user stories into technical implementation details again. We still want these pieces of value to be externally visible, although, as I've said earlier, they don't have to bring everything that the user needs in one big step. In addition to all of this, user stories are also tools for collaboration, and they're very effective at this. They give us a common language with which to describe the ideas around what the user needs from the system. And this allows people to talk, whether they are technical or non-technical. We can have a conversation with each other and understand what it is that we're talking about. A good story starts with discussions about the value, design and implementation. So we want to get stakeholder involvement. We want to bring product owners, developers and testers together to write and refine the user stories together. This approach allows us to use the stories to really drive the development process and focus on those desirable outcomes for our system. Stories help us then to guide prioritization, planning, acceptance testing, and building a shared understanding between all of these different groups of people, and ultimately, as a result of that, building better software more quickly. Workshop sessions, managing backlogs and regular reviews of what we build and how they meet those user needs, and acceptance test-driven development all help to ensure that everyone remains well aligned and understands what we've got, what it delivers, and where we are in our development process. User stories then aren't just simple writing tasks. They're about identifying real value and building better collaboration in the team. We should focus on user value and never implementation. Keep stories small and incremental. Avoid common pitfalls like technical stories or oversized epics, and collaborate and communicate to build shared understanding. Thank you very much for watching. And if you found this video helpful at all, then please do like, share and subscribe it. Tell your friends about the video. If you enjoy our content in general, you could consider supporting us by joining our Patreon community. There are links to that in the description below. And if you're already a Patreon subscriber, I want to thank you very much indeed for your support. Thank you and bye-bye.